Have you ever caught yourself replaying an argument that never happened? Maybe you're in the shower, lying in bed, or simply staring out of a window. Suddenly, your brain creates an entire conversation. You imagine exactly what someone might say, how you'll respond, how they'll react, and somehow, the whole thing feels incredibly real. Sometimes you're winning a debate that doesn't even exist. Here's the strange part. Your brain knows none of it is happening, yet your heart can still race. Your muscles can tense up. You might even smile or feel anxious over something that exists only inside your imagination. So why does your brain do this? Is it simply daydreaming, a sign of intelligence, a symptom of anxiety, or is your mind secretly trying to prepare you for the future? Modern psychology has spent decades studying this exact behavior, and what researchers discovered is far more surprising than most people realize. Those fake scenarios inside your head aren't random. They're often built from your memories, your fears, your goals, and even your deepest emotional needs. In many ways, the stories you repeatedly imagine reveal more about your personality than the conversations you actually have. Because when nobody else is watching, your brain stops performing for the outside world and starts revealing what truly matters to you. But here's where things become fascinating. Not everyone imagines fake scenarios in the same way. Some people create short imaginary conversations once in a while. Others build entire worlds inside their minds that continue for years. Some rehearse future situations to reduce anxiety. Others unknowingly trap themselves inside endless fictional realities that become more comforting than real life. The difference between those two groups can completely change the way they think, feel, and even make decisions. So today we're going deep inside one of the most mysterious habits of the human mind. The mascot standing beneath a huge, transparent brain surrounded by floating question marks and glowing imagination bubbles, inviting viewers into the mystery of imagination. What does your imagination say about your personality? When is it healthy? And when does it quietly become a psychological trap? Because by the end of this video, you may never look at your own thoughts the same way again. Let's start with one of the biggest misconceptions. Most people believe imagination is simply entertainment for the brain, something you do when you're bored. But neuroscience tells a completely different story. Your brain doesn't create imaginary situations just to pass time. It creates them to solve problems, predict the future, and keep you alive. In fact, one of the most powerful parts of your brain, the default mode network, often called the brain's background thinking system, it never really turns off. Even when you're resting, doing absolutely nothing, or staring into space, your brain is still incredibly busy. It starts connecting memories, predicting possible futures, replaying old conversations, and quietly building new possibilities. Scientists believe this system evolved for one simple reason: survival. Imagine one of your ancestors walking through a forest thousands of years ago. Every sound mattered. Every movement could mean danger. Your brain couldn't afford to wait until something happened. It had to imagine what might happen next. That ability dramatically increased your chances of survival. In other words, your imagination wasn't created to entertain you. It was created to prepare you. Psychologists call this mental simulation. Your brain runs practice sessions before reality ever arrives. Imagine you're about to give an important speech. Before you even walk onto the stage, your mind has already imagined the audience. You've imagined making mistakes. You've imagined succeeding. You've imagined people judging you, all before you've spoken a single word. Your brain is trying to reduce uncertainty because uncertainty has always been dangerous. Even today, your brain constantly predicts what could happen next. Every conversation, every decision, every opportunity, your brain quietly asks, "What happens if I do this?" Then it builds an imaginary future before reality even has a chance to answer. Here's where things become really fascinating. The fake scenarios you imagine aren't random. Your brain isn't pulling ideas out of nowhere. Almost every imaginary conversation, every fantasy, every what if is built from pieces of your real life. Psychologists sometimes describe this as your mind recycling emotional experiences. It takes memories, unfinished conversations, or future goals, past failures, hidden fears, and combines them into brand new stories. Think of your imagination as a movie director. It doesn't create actors from nothing. It casts people you've already met. It borrows emotions you've already felt. Then it writes a completely new script. That's why two people can witness the exact same event, Imagine two employees leaving the exact same meeting. Their boss simply says, "Can I talk to you tomorrow?" The first person immediately imagines getting promoted. The second imagines getting fired. Nothing has happened yet. The exact same words, the exact same situation, but two completely different imaginary futures. Why? Because imagination doesn't predict reality. It reflects your expectations. And your expectations are shaped by your psychology. If you've experienced repeated rejection, your brain begins expecting rejection. If you've grown up constantly being criticized, your mind naturally starts imagining criticism before it even happens. If you've been betrayed several times, your brain starts creating scenarios where people disappoint you, even before they've done anything wrong. This is one reason anxiety can feel so convincing. An anxious brain isn't trying to make you miserable, it's trying to protect you. Unfortunately, it often prepares you for disasters that never arrive. Imagine carrying an umbrella every single day because your brain keeps predicting rain. Eventually, you stop noticing you're carrying unnecessary weight. That's exactly what chronic overthinking feels like. Your imagination becomes a full-time emergency planner. Every conversation gets rehearsed, every decision gets analyzed, every possible mistake gets explored, long before reality has a chance to unfold. Ironically, people around you may think you're calm, but inside your head, you've already lived the same moment 20 different ways. But not every fake scenario is driven by fear. Some are powered by hope, others by ambition, and some simply make you feel better. This is where dopamine enters the story. Every exciting future you imagine can activate your brain's reward system. Your brain doesn't completely distinguish between vividly imagining success and experiencing part of the emotion. That's why daydreaming can feel so rewarding. But there's a hidden danger. If your brain receives too much reward from imagination alone, it may become less motivated to pursue those goals in reality. This doesn't mean imagination is bad. In fact, elite athletes have used visualization for decades because mentally rehearsing success actually improves real performance. The difference is that athletes don't stop at imagination. They use it as a blueprint, not as a destination. Psychologists even have a name for when imagination begins replacing reality. It's called maladaptive daydreaming. For some people, imaginary worlds become emotionally safer than real life. And that's where imagination quietly becomes escapism. The healthiest minds don't eliminate imagination. They learn when to use it and when to return to reality, because your imagination is one of the greatest tools your brain has ever developed. It allows you to solve problems before they exist, prepare for challenges, learn from the past, and build a better future. Just remember, your imagination was never meant to replace your life. It was meant to help you create one.